calling attention to that new website that I have, a primer for paradigmshift.org. So the primer is a small book that describes new or unfamiliar ideas. And a paradigm shift, my use of that term, a paradigm shift, means a purposeful movement towards a society that takes care of its needs within the boundaries of the natural world, and that society would place a high value on social, personal, and collective uplift and civic culture, building civic culture, and that society would be served by a responsible and honest economic system. So that's a big wish list. But important that I emphasize on the website is that bits and pieces of paradigm shift are already happening. This isn't some future utopia. Bits and pieces of this already happening all over the country, all over the world, and KEPW radio station is part of that too. We're taking these ideas of a more peaceful and sustainable world out to a wider audience. So the connection here is that I bought my suburban property 25 years ago with the intention from the start that I was going to do a permaculture makeover. And I didn't at that time have as well developed of a set of ideas about paradigm shift as I do now. I'm already thinking about that kind of stuff, even since high school. But as time goes on, it's nice to kind of get new ideas to explain the world around us. So the site tour here is a small example of what paradigm shift can look like in suburbia. We're in a suburban. Just do a little look around right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
This is totally suburbia right here.
Oh, yeah.
These are newer houses on that side of the street. On this side of the street is older suburbia right here.
Yeah.
So half of Americans live in suburbia. So that means that suburbia has to be a location for paradigm shift. We can't start over, but the fact is a lot of suburban properties have a lot of potential for producing food, energy, water, aesthetics. A even more expansive ideal is to turn suburbia into giant eco-villages, taking fences down and neighbors collaborating, making common cause. That topic I go into more detail on my website. So we can only start with what we have where we live. And a lot of people live in suburbia. And I look up and down this street and I just imagine what this could look like if people were engaging in reducing their ecological footprints, which is a big part of paradigm shift because humans are just taking a little bit too much. But maybe we should move on to the property. So what you see here is you can see this sidewalk right here, and that is the remains of my driveway. That was one of the first things I did when I moved in, was I rented a cement saw with a friend and we took out the driveway. At the present time, I don't have a car myself. I kind of went car free. That's another aspect of suburbia, you know, is our energy footprints. And of course, I go into more detail on the website. A lot of people have gone into detail, you know, about energy. That's a big, big issue. But I wanted to make better use of that space that would have been taken up by a car. So I rent 3 rooms in my house, and some of my housemates have cars, so they can park out here along the street. So that was an important part of what my plan. And you can see edible landscaping is a huge, big part of what I've been doing here for 25 years. Those are grapes. Up above it's an arbor, and I'm producing food where there used to be a parking lot. So you can see that. And I have a storage space here. So let's go a little bit more in here.
You got like a little group of people that are participating in this tour.
So yeah, just have a little look around. This was a grassy front yard. It wasn't anything unusual. It was just a grassy front yard. My property is a 1/4 acre, and it's a rectangle, and the long part of the rectangle is north-south, and then my house is oriented east-west, and the backyard is on the south side of the house. But this was just all grassy. There was a medium-sized cherry tree. I ended up taking that out. So, of course, this is the wintertime and you don't see too much of a garden, but I have food growing out here. There's Marion berries over there. I planted the bamboo over there. Let's take a look at this over here. Almost any property is going to help design itself. A permaculture principle is to become familiar with the characteristics of what you want to change. Well, a property, any suburban property or even a rural property, will help design itself just by what's already there. So we certainly want to make some modifications and enhance on that. But this water tank right here is one of the first early projects that I engaged in. It's a 1,600-gallon tank right there, and I have 2 of those. And then I have a larger tank. We'll take a look at that. Those are in the backyard. But rainwater collection was a critical part of what I wanted to do. That adds to the resilience and preparedness of a place. And I use this rainwater I catch is for agriculture. These tanks were used agricultural tanks. I have another tank in the backyard that's a new tank with food grade plastic. And with a Berkey gravity ceramic water filter, you could make that easy, safe to drink with no problem at all. So we have an earthquake or we have some sort of disruption, it's nice to have some water. But one of the most important lessons I learned with the water is that, of course, some people will say, it's rainy in Eugene, isn't it? Well, it is in the wintertime. It's showery today, but it's very dry in the summer. But having water on site is just a smart thing to do. I have a galvalume roof, which is a good type of surface to catch water on. But as I mentioned, one of the primary goals when I started out was to reduce my ecological footprint. So I do produce some water here. I catch rainwater, and I do grow a significant amount of food, and I do have a good bit of passive solar energy. We'll see all that too. Yeah.
What is a galvanine roof? What do you mean, like a metal roof?
Yeah, it's a metal roof. It's a standing seam, a metal roof, and importantly, it's not painted. This is not a painted roof. It is an industrial finish. So the conclusion of some people who have studied it, this is the best type of roof to have if you want to catch rainwater and drink the rainwater. Of course, you still have to clean up the water because there's dirt and bird poop up there, but it is the best type of surface. So I just wanted to improve my food production. I've got a little bit of a cover crop going on here. You can kind of look back over and see the shed right there. And I've made some changes in the front yard. So let's go around to the back. Let's go around to the back. some new artichokes planted there. Yeah, so this way. We have a good number of bicycles here on site. So one thing I would want to mention, there was some landscaping. There was some decorative landscaping, some shrubs that made some nice flowers, but they don't make any food. I've taken out almost all of that. There wasn't a lot to begin with, but this looks very different from when we started. But all along here was a 15-foot high shrubbery all along this fence line. And my next door neighbor and I agreed we wanted to take it out. So we took it out, and we both have edible landscaping on our side of the property line. We couldn't have done the removal of that hedge because it was right on the property line unless we both agreed we wanted to do that. So by good luck, Bill isn't living here anymore, but he was permaculture positive. And the people who bought the house, who live here now, Patty and Peter, they are also permaculture positive because they have a lot of edible landscaping, and they even took out part of their driveway, to make that into food production. So what we're looking at here is my backyard. And it was just a grassy backyard. It wasn't a difficult transformation. Just a grassy backyard. I knew what I wanted to do. Sheet mulch, suppress the grass that was growing out here. Again, the backyard to a large degree helped design itself. I've got fruit trees. We'll go a little bit further out into the backyard in just a second. But here's another couple items I want to mention. Let's actually take a look in here. Just kind of stand here. This very comfortable, nice looking space was a garage. This is a garage transformation right here. And this was a wall before. This is actually a south-facing wall right here. So part of what I wanted to do here was increase the residential density, the number of people living in the house, because with this garage becoming a living space, that makes it a 3-bedroom house. And that was part of my intention, was to have housemates, because I don't need all this space, and it's also income as well. And this space over here, we can kind of take a little step into here. What you see here, this is my favorite. An outdoor patio. This is the south side of the house, and you can see the wall here is exterior siding. That's exterior siding right there. So this was an outdoor patio, and now it's enclosed, and it's a passive solar space. And yesterday, when it was a nice sunny day, I would have had right here, there's a fan right there, and what I do is export the warm air in here into the rest of the house. Of course, it's not doing that today because it's a cloudy, chilly day, but it's such a nice place to have passive solar. It's just, I have to just say the agricultural or the architectural profession really kind of missed the boat, even in suburbia. This could be a normal feature of a suburban house. And it can be retrofit like this on some properties that lend themselves, to passive solar like this. But I spend a lot of time in here. Most of these plants go outside in the summertime because they're semi-tropical. I have a lot of potted citrus, and I've got some pineapples growing over there. But the just having a place that doesn't freeze, it never freezes in here, and it's just a pleasant place to be. It's kind of being partly indoors and partly outdoors at the same time. So, but again, this particular property made it easy to do the passive solar because this is on the south side of the house. And it's just a remodel job, and I've got glass up in the roof also. This isn't anything extreme.
Great room. I love it.
It's beautiful. How pleasant to hang out in here.
Oh,
I
yeah,
gotta look
I
at
spent a
this
lot of
nice little
time.
couch.
Yeah.
It's like being in a forest.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Nature.
most of these go out in the summertime, but I spent a lot. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and it's just passive solar. The sunlight comes through the glass, it gets trapped in here, and it warms up. You know, it's the greenhouse effect. So, one of my favorite places. So let's go a little further out here. So this was just a grassy backyard. Back over behind what you see there, this a little greenhouse. There was an apple tree, a sizable apple tree, just in the wrong place. You don't have a big tree on the southeast corner of the property, so I had that cut down, and I planted fruit trees all along the perimeter. Fence lines are really nice places to do a sort of a modified espalier. Espalier, of course, is a way to train plants, fruit trees, grapes, along a certain horizontal distance. And the property line is a really nice place to grow. Essentially a hedge. I've already done my pruning. There's several apple trees. There's pear trees over there. I have peach trees back along this south side of the property, and I grow almost all my own fruit and vegetables here. I rarely buy any fruit or vegetables. I freeze. You can take a look here in the garden. That's some nice celery leeks. There's beets, kohlrabi. I have carrots and more beets inside the greenhouse. It's just a lot of fun to grow food, and I do a lot of what I call home economics. You know, is the idea of producing more at home, and you can imagine that if neighbors were to collaborate on doing this stuff, could share tools, could share kids, could share anything they like. I know of several examples of this type of suburban transformation that goes way beyond a single property. There's N Street Co-op in Davis, California. There's East Blair Housing Co-op here in Eugene. When a number of properties can synchronize with each other to make more effective use of the property. And I go into more detail describing some of these places on my website as well, because they are wonderful examples of paradigm shift.
What's the website?
A primer for paradigmshift.org. Yeah. Because these are examples of paradigm shift already happening. People living in some of these places, like Kailash Eco Village in Portland, they're already living, people in paradigm shift to a large degree already, you know, of reducing eco footprints, of building community culture, of learning the communication skills on how to take, you know, the human experience to a more elevated level. So this is the beginning of that level, of that kind of scale. Maybe my neighbors and I take our fences down, and we evolve into that more collaborative transformation of suburbia. But this is where this is where we start. And as I say, some places already gone a lot further than this. Even here in River Road in my neighborhood, there are some places I know where people have taken fences down, with their neighbors and doing more of a collaborative, expansive type of a social, economic, cooperation.
I just want to mention that this is the middle of the winter and all these things are growing, right?
Uh,
I mean,
they're
you eat from here even in the wintertime,
Oh,
I guess is
sure,
my.
sure. I covered the celery when we had that cold. It was down to 25, last week. I covered some of this. I just dug up potatoes, just a few days ago. But yeah, Eugene is a plant hardiness zone 8B. So that means it gets cold. It freezes, of course. It freezes every year. We even get a little bit of snow too. But a lot of these plants, they easily survive outdoors. In the wintertime, they might not grow so much. But I eat from my garden. I have fresh salad every night. And then you can also look at this big shrub right over here, and you could say, what are those? What are those yellow? Those are lemons. That's a lemon tree, right there. And a person who is kind of a weather wonk like I am would say, you can grow lemons in Eugene. Well, you can if you're willing to cover up the lemon tree now and then. We can go weeks with no freeze here, but it does get cold enough that a lemon tree would be damaged. But I grow a lot of lemons, and it's a good year for lemons. So that's kind of an interesting curiosity. Over here, I have, I'm hoping that maybe this year is my first year where I start getting almonds. I have a couple almond trees, and the newer almond tree is flowering enough that it's going to help pollinate the bigger almond tree. And then we walk past already. I have an olive. I had my first real olive harvest. I harvested 4 or 5 pounds of olives, and I have olives now. I love my olives. They're great. So this is all part of edible landscaping, is to reduce eco footprints. But the place for me, another important aspect of doing the aesthetics. I mean, somebody else into permaculture could have done something very different than this. But this is, to me, this resonates. It just feels good being here. I love being here. This is what my permaculture, what my paradigm shift can look like. And if one were to expand that kind of care and sensitivity to the entire community, our entire communities could look a lot more aesthetic. There's no mystery why there's such an unhappy component to our society, because it's not in public places. We could be doing a whole lot better. So of course, paradigm shift has a vision that many people have written books about, building mixed use, commercial and residential on parking lots and strip mall parking lots. Those could be turned into like micro suburban downtowns, make the streets safe, so people could access more of their basic needs closer to where they live. People have written books about this. This is nothing unusual. New urbanism is what you could call that. Interventions, repairing what's already here. That's a huge part of repairing what's already here. So right
Yeah.
behind us here, we can even see our reflection.
Oh, there we are.
You can even see our reflection. This is a structure that I built. This is part of the ideal of increasing residential density. So this is a 400 square foot passive solar ADU. This is all fully permitted. This is my living space. So then that means that I have 3 bedrooms in the house that I can rent. So again, This is to increase residential density to reduce the pressure of building more suburbia out on farmland. And nice to have housemates. We get along well. And of course, some locations in Eugene, you would have a house with maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 people as an intentional, social, economic kind of a unit. My place, I wouldn't qualify it quite like that. But in the primer, I describe a variety of places here in Eugene and elsewhere that are kind of micro eco villages where people are cooking dinner together and they're collaborating. It's not necessarily a commune. There's all kinds of different characteristics that go into a sort of an intentional, purposeful living situation. Dumas here in Eugene, East Blair, Walnut Street Co-op. These are all previews of perhaps a more socially conscious kind of a preferred future is what they are. And these types of places all over the country. There's people doing this all over the country.
And the world too, probably.
And the world too. There's some places where people can't afford to be so wasteful like we are in the U.S. When you look at the eco footprint map of the world and see what eco footprints look like in different parts of the world, the U.S. is bright red.
Ooh.
It leads the way. It's in kind
How
of
sad for it's like the richest place in the world using all of our richness in an unwise way, it sounds like.
It's good for the economy, but what's good for the economy is a mixed blessing to people and planet. And the primer goes into a lot more explanation of that. I spend a bit of time on the primer with a deconstruction of our economic system. The magic hand of the marketplace, informed purchase, American exceptionalism. I describe these parts of the economic mythologies in no uncertain terms. So that's all on my website.
Yep.
But this is just a very comfortable place. It's my workspace. It's my sleeping space. ADUs, accessory dwelling units, are becoming much more common. And the city is encouraging this, not just Eugene, but everywhere, because there's a recognition we need to densify more.
Yeah.
And density doesn't have to look bad. It oftentimes does, but there's a lot of potential in suburbia. Let's go back here.
So I want to let everybody know we're here at Jan's space in Eugene, and he is showing us how he's worked to create a suburban permaculture space and leading the example of how a shift in paradigm can look.
That's exactly what it is, Jenna. Yeah, this is just my version. A permaculture paradigm shift minded person could have done something a good bit different with this property, but there would be a lot of similar features. You'd be having food growing here, you would be probably increasing residential density, could have shifted things around a little bit, but it's just common sense. What on my in my website I have a part of what I call sound bites, where just 1, 2, 3 sentences of these thoughts that have occurred to me, I put them organized on one part of my website, and one of the sound bites goes like, paradigm shift just looks brilliant with the care for people and care for planet, but paradigm shift is only common sense. It's not brilliant at all. It's only common sense, because what we're used to is so much the opposite of common sense. Just something totally self-evident looks brilliant, because what we're used to with the cars, with all the noise, with the freeways, that does not bring out the best in human potential, this kind of a system. So, but what I wanted to show you back here, you can see this big tank right here. That's my 3,000 gallon rainwater system. That tank right there. And it is full right now. I catch that rainwater off of this ADU. So I have 6,500 gallons of rainwater storage. And in a good summer, with maybe a little rain a couple times, I can make it through the summer with my rainwater system instead of using city water. But a dry summer, and I don't have quite enough water, and that doesn't even account for the needs of the people living here. So doing my water projects, I have a plastic tube that shows what the water level is inside that tank. It goes up when it rains, it goes down when I take water out. When I first started doing this, I didn't have a clue of what 1,000 gallons of water looked like. I do now. Part of the need of paradigm shift is, and the challenge is to connect people with the awareness of what it takes to satisfy our needs, whether it's shelter, it's transportation, it's food production. Most people are very disconnected from the amount of energy. Imagine how many soccer moms would it take to push that big car, even on flat ground for 100 yards. But instead, we just push the accelerator down and don't even think about it. Our entire society is distant from the consequences of what it takes for us to live in such an affluent way. I mean, people have written about that. Of course, a very well-known book, The Limits of Growth, that was authored back in the 1970s. What are the prospects of our society and the impact on the environment? A lot of what they were saying, okay, if we don't change, this is what's going to start happening. It's kind of turning out that way in a general sort of way. But Suburbia offers an enormous opportunity to create something of a different economy, but the idea of paradigm shift is just as much social and economic as it is agriculture and the environment. Let's get a view back this way. This is the south side of my house right here. You can see the glass wall of the sunroom, and you can see also I've got a solar water heater up there, and the Gabaloom roof. So it's just a beautiful place to be, and I have a greenhouse that helps extend the growing season a little bit. It's just a very basic, simple greenhouse, but and of course one of my favorite things is to show and tell what Suburbia can look like. Literally thousands of people have visited here over the years to see what Suburbia can look like, but I certainly encourage those seeing this video in YouTube to take a look at where they live. What's the opportunity? Even apartment complexes have an enormous potential. Many of them do. Many churches have property as well that could host gardens or even orchards. So there's an enormous amount of potential that's just right there. On one of my sound bites, and of course others have said something like this too, that we don't need a magic type of technology to save the day. What we need to save the day is a shift in our own consciousness. People have said that in different ways. It could not be more true. but our economic system is essentially social engineering. The consumer culture is social engineering. On the Primer for Paradigm Shift website, I explain Edward Bernays and this type of thinking going back 100 years that was a preview idea of what the consumer culture actually became, and that is to create an abundance to keep the great number of people entertained and happy and distracted, while those who basically are in government and big business and economy, they, to say they're puppeteers, it's kind of that way. It's very much an intentional purpose to keep people distracted while they run the show, and there's plenty to keep us occupied with pro football and pop culture and all of that while they add to their fortunes. And of course, climate change and the extreme level of social and economic disequity of the haves and the have-nots. This is not a condition of a healthy society. So paradigm shift is people self-empowering. It's much more creating a purpose in life that is affirmative to our own spirit and to the environment as well. So a primer for paradigmshift.org goes into a lot more detail on that. And I'd like to hear from people. People can contact me through the website. I would be available for speaking even through Zoom at different events, conferences about these kinds of issues. It's social, it's economic, it's human potential, it's even spirituality as well. So I really appreciate your coming.
Yeah, I just have one question because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, I think this is a compost thing you're doing here.
This is a compost thing.
Yeah, so, and that's a big part of what you do for this permaculture idea and the space for this shift, right?
Well, there's no mystery about composting.
Well, a lot of people don't understand it so much. I might even be one of them that doesn't compost as well as I think I could. Can you explain why you have all the compartments? What is happening here?
Well, this is kind of older compost right here, and this is kind of newer. My compost and my housemates, the amount of compostable material that we generate isn't a lot. I mean, we do our compost. There's a compost bucket in the kitchen, and that comes out here. This takes time. This amount of compost is not really a large enough mass to get hot. A bigger compost, it gets hot. I mean, it gets hot in there. This doesn't really do that. So I have to trade length of time for the heat in compost speeds up the action of composting. So I don't really have it. I throw some leaves in there.
And the leaves is for nitrogen, right? Isn't that what it adds nitrogen
that'd be more,
to
that'd
the
be
mix?
more grass.
Oh, grass. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's how much I know.
I don't have very much grass here, but I can. This right here is probably getting on to maybe a year old right there. I decided, okay, I need to let that go for a while, and this one's kind of the newer one here. And of course,
This is the older one.
yeah.
And that's a newer one where you can see it's just like a lot of debris. And this is trying to do its thing, turning itself into dirt.
Yeah, well, that goes out into the garden. This is actually this right here. That is compost. That is new compost, or from the compost bin, right there. That's
Nice.
vegetable scraps.
Beautiful dirt.
For a period of time.
Brand new dirt. I love brand new dirt.
But this is an amount of maybe the better part of a year. So it's not like I'm producing truckloads of compost, but it all adds up. And I do cover cropping, and I've also bought some organic, industrial-made soil for the place here as well. I've done that as well. So as time permits and the capacity is there, build up one's property. Do what you can while you can. Is there going to be over the cliff? Hopefully we don't experience that, but I personally don't see an easy way out from our current way of living. And it's not only the U.S., it's the entire planet. 8 billion people is a lot of pressure on the planet. But again, this is just as much about human potential and human capability to create a really nice place for all of us. It's not only about the environment, but we can't survive without a healthy environment too. So they're intimately involved, the social and the environment. So, but it's just certainly one of my favorite experiences in life is to have had the privilege of doing this with a nothing special quarter-acre suburban property.
Well, thank you so much, Jan. It's been a pleasure seeing this beautiful space that you've made here, and that you have such a great idea about how the world can follow this example and really change things around. And
Yeah.
and you're sharing that on your website.
Yeah.
Again. What is the website? One more
A
time.
primer for paradigmshift.org. So this is the American version. Other people have different circumstances in other parts of the world, but there are people doing their version of paradigm shift here and there all over the world, and it's really exciting.